January the 6th, 2014. These are Earth-facing images from LASCO C2. We've had an extremely powerful CME off the right limb of the sun. It began with it was a two-part blast. This one from the top right. Then we're going to skip 8 hours in frames. You see that? That's how they came in on this section. Then it's an electron and proton burst, both. Sometimes you'll see one or the other. But guys, look at the amount of density that was ejected from the sun. It looks like an impact event more than it does just a natural CME. Now, I'm going to show it to you from several different angles and tell you why I think it may be an impact event. Here, these are still images because they come in earlier than the MPEG movies, guys, or the MPEG 4s. Now look at this. I'm just going to scan up to the latest image that we're getting. You see the timestamps here. Tremendous amount. Now this is not Earth facing. We're going to get just a side glance. But look at the amount of electrons and protons that were energized and did blast at Earth. Remember, this is LASCO C2, and it's Earth facing. A close up again. That's a lot. And look behind it, guys. That's a lot of mass. Also, we're facing LASCO C3 still images. At the top right, you see that curve. That's the first blast. Now, that was extremely strong, and I'll show you that also. Then you see this crab-shaped second blast. You've seen these before. This one seems to be different. I'm going to go through the different images. But notice, as we get up to the last frame that came in here on LASCO C3, see the top of the first burst? How much energy it was in it. Normally that would be the shaded side of the flare because the sun's on the other, but it's still so energized that it's just that hot, guys. Let's look at it from SDO without the occulter over it. Look at this. This is before that flare. You notice the flames on the left, the prominence on the right. Now here's the beginning, and you can almost see a signature in that. Then there's an explosion. This is a lot of material. Notice the prominence. It did not come from that prominence. It's still intact. See that? Now, notice that there's a central spot of jetting. After the explosion occurs, you see the V on both sides. That's happening. Look at that center point. As if something punched through, came in and punched through there and caused this jet to go out. And as it gets further out into the explosion, you can see it's not as well defined, but it's coming from a pinpoint. And you see all the ejected matter. I'll go to stereo A, and I want to go to SDO at the same time using similar filters. Their timestamps are about 10 minutes apart, and I'll show you that. But look at that blast. Here is SDO, or facing. This is stereo ahead, which is on the other side of the sun. You see the blast. It's coming straight at A, and I'll show you that on the flare tracker. To the right, you see it coming off. Look at that. That's a lot of energy, guys. That does not need to happen with this giant flare that's facing us. That one came off the right side. This is a giant flare that's beta, gamma, delta, capable of X flares. Everyone needs to hold their breath on this one. It is giant. It does not need to do an X flare in the next 5 days. Coronal hole, that's heat there and above it, but that one is Earth facing. That may give us a break on this cold weather. Guys, here in central Mississippi, they're talking about 104-year records of sustained temperatures below freezing, about 2.5 days. In our wind chills are going to be 5 to 10 degrees for the next 2 or 3 days. 104 years since I really started keeping records. Very unusual. But here's the giant sunspot, 1944. Look at the size, 1480, beta, gamma, delta. Notice that? I'll show it to you in a couple of different images also. Extremely large. Look at this. Notice it's blue and red. It's giving you your different types of sunspots. That's why it's X capable. Notice the one above it also. Very large area. Remember, 109 Earths could be placed across the surface of the sun. Look at this and watch the light inside this giant sunspot. This is called the Doppler HMI magnetogram. Check that out. You're starting to see the one on the top of it, the one that's been feeding these magnetic bands, start to expand also. It's getting a little more well-defined, and spreading out. I'll look at the top of the large one, starting to, again, reach out to the right area. That sunspot may expand. If it does, and these sunspots join, you may have one of the largest areas on the surface of the sun that's ever been recorded. It's already at 1450. Now, these groups have been measured much larger than that, but it was a large area of smaller spots that they kind of combined and called it one group. But guys, look at this. This is the protons. This is ACE. It's a satellite that orbits Earth. Now, it's not an direct Earth-facing blast, but these satellites pick it up. This is electrons, also ACE. Check that out. You see there's two jumps. That's that first flare that came off, then the second one. You do not see this proton flux react this hard very often. This is out of Boulder, 5-minute data. That was a hard hit. Again, it was not Earth-facing. Check this out. Now, Earth is in the yellow dot to the right. Venus is crossing in front of it. Now, the pink dot now there's the flare. Check this out in both sides. Again, Earth is in the yellow dot. The pink square beside Earth is Maven. But this is how close a call this was. Check that out. You see this coming right down to the yellow dot. That's where our satellites are picking up. And that hasn't gotten here yet. Notice your timestamp. That initial energy burst is what they depicted. But that's ISUN in the dark purple, but the little pink one right beside Earth is Maven. That's a satellite. We should have had a lot of information from ISUN. We hadn't got it. This is stereo A of the blast. There's your first one. You saw the first spike on the proton chart that come out. Here's the second blast, much stronger. Both are impressive. This is unusual. Notice your timestamps. So come out. Now, stereo B could not even handle the blast. I'll show you this. But again, look, the timestamp's moving, but it's just shut down. It cannot handle it. But B is not the one that's getting it. Stereo A is getting a direct hit from this blast. Very large, very close call, guys. Heads up, we're going to be watching it again. The big one is triple configurated, and it seems to be expanding. It's turning Earth facing. It's something to watch. Be safe.